What if Carnage was in Spider-Man 3 re-uploaded? So, a couple hours ago, like 2 hours ago or 3 hours ago maybe, I made a video titled What if Carnage was in Spider-Man 3? But, the reason it was 3 minutes long was because I really couldn't find footage. And I realised the video came out bad. So I'm going to do a black screen for this, but I'm pretty sure you can imagine Carnage, Venom, and Spider-Man fighting along with Harry and Sandman. So, let's do this. Jump. I literally actually jump. So, to quickly better explain what I did poorly a couple hours ago, Spider-Man has the symbiote and he removes it that goes onto Eddie, but then a noise happens. But they ignore it and move on. That symbiote then moves to a prison and connects to a criminal that breaks out. And he wants revenge on Spider-Man because Spider-Man put him in jail. Okay? Just to catch up with everyone, that's how Carnage is born. Spider-Man comes back, but this time, Bernard comes early and tells Harry about how Peter was right, so he isn't delayed to come. Anyway, let's go. Okay. So then they go in and they see Sandman and Venom prepared. So what actually happens is that so Harry flies in the distance and he's about to attack Venom. So he attacks Venom, but then Venom is pulled by a web of Carnage and he's hit the ground. And then he looks up, and then Carnage looks up and he sees Harry hovering. And he webs his glider, but Peter Parker is actually able to cut the web, and Spider-Man tries to web Carnage, but Carnage dodges the attack and uses his webs, but Peter uses his web, and it's a web collision. Venom sees this and knows he has to do something. So what he does is he actually attacks Spider-Man, and then Sandman, and then Harry goes to fly off in the distance, and then Sandman actually punches Carnage as he lands on a metal thing, and then Harry shoots missiles at Carnage. Carnage dodges the attacks, and all the missiles go and hit Sandman as Sandman crumbles to the ground. Harry flies out trying to escape Carnage as they get into a fight as Harry uses his spike bombs and he cuts the ones that Goblin used, Green Goblin from the original Spider-Man movie. You know that building fight where instead of his exploding bombs, he sends ones with spikes on the sides? Yeah, those. Harry sends them and cuts the webs on Peter, so Venom gets mad, and then he's tackled by Carnage. And what actually happens is that Eddie gets into a fight with Carnage and the criminal, and what happens is Venom gets the upper hand, and he actually kills the host of Carnage. But the Carnage symbiote gets onto the Venom, and it's just a combined symbiote. Venom's on the left and Carnage is on the right. But then Eddie sees that Carnage is way more powerful, and Venom is nowhere near its strength. So he abandons Venom, and this is a shock. And then what actually happens is Peter knocks out the symbiote, but the symbiote is still up. Peter just thinks he defeated it, but he actually only knocked it out. They get into a fight with Eddie with the Carnage symbiote, and what happens is that Harry sends up an actual spike bomb that used to cut Peter free, and it cuts Eddie out of the Carnage symbiote. Eddie hits the ground and he actually reunites with Venom, and he grabs the spike and stabs Harry in the back. Peter screams no as Harry is thrown off. He lands as MJ goes to check on him. Carnage actually hits Eddie out of the Venom symbiote as he gets back into the Carnage symbiote. The Carnage symbiote says, "You betrayed me," and he says, "I didn't. I just couldn't defend myself against Spider-Man without a symbiote, so I got the Venom one back for a couple seconds." He says, "Okay." Since the Venom symbiote is without a host, Peter grabs it and puts it on himself, knowing he can't defeat Carnage in his normal suit, and he actually attacks Carnage. And they get into a huge fight, and the Venom symbiote knows this is its only chance to consume Peter again, and then they can finally he can win. He can literally destroy them all, and it'll be over. But this is where a shocking something happens. So what happens is that Peter basically hits Eddie out of the symbiote, a carnage, but it actually got enough power from Eddie that it's actually able to form into like a human being as a symbiote, like someone's in it, but actually in reality no one is in the suit. So it's shocking. Harry, who is weak, calls a glider, and it actually goes in, and it stabs right through Carnage, and Carnage starts to fall off, but it's actually able to dispower the glider as it jumps. But the glider is already shooting, and it and it shoots the Venom symbiote, so Peter gets out of it as the Venom symbiote is shot. And what actually happens is the Venom symbiote, it's straight up dead. It's just gone. Eddie in the Carnage symbiote tackles Peter as they get into a huge fight. And what actually happens is that Peter uses his webs on the ground as he pulls himself forward to gain momentum, and he actually hits the Eddie to the ground, and he webs him out the symbiote, webbing him so he can't jump into the symbiote, and he blows it up with a pumpkin bomb. Eddie gets arrested, and what happens next is Peter goes to check on Harry, who dies in MJ's and Peter's arms. There's a funeral for Harry, and Peter just doesn't feel good. He's at the lowest of its low, and he's at the lower low, and I think we can actually expand this and make a part 2 to this, and we can mention how, yes, Carnage won't be in the video because I need to make a continuation for this, because, well, who wants to see the continuation of this universe now that Peter has lost Harry and Eddie is still alive in his timeline, so he can still out Spider-Man as Peter Parker. So I think we got a huge timeline of where this can happen and go. So let me know what you think about changing and actually giving this another part. So yeah, and in case you want me to add anything else, I could add the fact that Peter could meet Kraven the Hunter. I could add a post-credit scene of Kraven the Hunter or any other villain, but I'm going to choose Kraven the Hunter. And if you guys don't want him and choose another villain, I'll kill him off or get him arrested early on in my second fan fiction. What are you saying? We can make our own Spider-Man 4. Just saying. Alright? You choose. Man, I'm gonna head out, so goodbye.